Hi, I'm Robert Schramm, a behavior analyst, education specialist, author, and dad. Each week, I share strategies to help you find the path to real progress for your kids who may be struggling. Today's topic finishes our discussion on token plans. So if you want more videos just like this one, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay updated on every new release. A token economy is a motivation plan because it sets up contingencies that are designated to motivate and ultimately reinforce specific behavior. It is a special kind of motivation plan because it uses symbols or tokens that represent value that is turned into backup reinforcement. The types of token plans that work well and the ones that are fraught with weaknesses were discussed in earlier episodes. But if you've developed a token plan the way that I described it in last week's episode, you have a strong plan that is individualized to your child's interests, focuses on the important behavior that you want to motivate, and offers meaningful promises of reinforcement that work as generalized reinforcers. However, there is a way to make even this already strong token plan more motivating, and that is by adding a second layer or level of reinforcement to the plan. Most of the motivation plans that I create these days are what I would call multi-level motivation plans. What makes them multi-level is that there are two different forms of reinforcement available for the behavior that we're trying to motivate. In the case of the plan we developed in last week's episode, we established daily reinforcement as a pull-on behavior. To increase the reinforcing value of the plan, we could also add long-term reinforcement into the mix. Daily reinforcers are things that your child would be able to earn and benefit from daily, like watching TV, playing on a tablet or an iPad, maybe a dessert item. These are all items that work well as daily reinforcers. But if we wanted to add a second pull on your child's behavior, we could consider also setting up a contingency that offers access to a larger or long-term reinforcer. And these are things you wouldn't mind your child having, but they would be too large or costly to give them on a daily basis. When I talk about long-term reinforcers, I usually mean things that your child would work for that you would only want to make available maybe weekly or even monthly. Dinner at a favorite fast food restaurant might fall into this category. Perhaps you don't like your child eating at McDonald's, but a Happy Meal is one of their favorite things. You might be willing to allow a trip to McDonald's as reinforcement once every week or two if your child's behavior was deserving. The same might be true for being able to go to maybe a movie theater to go see a movie. Cost or availability might make this an option that you can only do on the weekends. And some kids like to buy things as reinforcement. The ability to spend money at the toy or the dollar store might be a reinforcer you can offer, but it would only make sense to do it maybe once a month. In fact, any reinforcer that would be too large or too costly or not good for the child to have too often, it might fit perfectly into this category. Trips to the arcade, the public pool, the beach might be good long-term reinforcers. Purchasing an article of clothing or Lego builder sets might also fit. The benefit of daily reinforcement is that it can happen often enough that the motivation will transfer to the tokens easily. But the benefit of a long-term motivator is that it can often be far more substantial, and for some kids might be even more valuable than the smaller daily reinforcers that would be available. In addition to reinforcing your child with daily reinforcement based on the number of tokens or points that they earn each day, you can also award separate tokens at the end of a day towards these long-term reinforcers based on how well that day went overall. For example, if you have a child who has been earning points all day long, and at the end of the day, they can turn in up to maybe 50 tokens for daily reinforcers, that's great. But you can add value by also saying that on every day that your child has earned 40 or more tokens, they will, in addition to the daily reinforcement, also earn a star or an X on a long-term reinforcer chart. This star or X then gets added up each day that they get 40 or more tokens. And when the child gets to 5 stars or 10 X's or 20 smiley faces on their chart, they would then be able to earn their long-term reinforcer as a bonus. Now, some of you may be noticing that this setup of 40 or more tokens getting the X or the star and 39 or less doesn't is a form of all or nothing contingency. And yes, this would be correct. We do want to avoid all or nothing if we can. However, it is less problematic here because it is an added form of reinforcement and there's still something being earned for 39 or less tokens. It's just less daily reinforcement. But we can avoid this even more by having different levels of acquisition toward the long-term tokens. For example, instead of having a cutoff at 40 points equaling a single X, you might set it up so that a child could earn as many as 2 X's per day. It could be set up this way. If they get 45 points or more, they get 2 X's. 40 points or more gets them 1 X. 35 or more points could also equal a half an X if you like. The main concept here is that the child will be trying to earn as many points as possible towards daily reinforcement. But in addition, if they hit certain levels of points throughout the day, they also know that they're earning progress towards their larger, longer term reinforcer. And you can divvy it up. You can divvy up that progress any way that you like. But because there are 2 different levels of reinforcement available, you have a much stronger pull on behavior. You have the pull of the daily reinforcers and you have the pull of the long-term reinforcer. Some kids that I work with might find the daily reinforcement more important and others the long-term hold more value. But having both working together tends to at least double the value put on each token, making it far more likely for us to find a plan that works to build behavior quickly and without complaint. I offer a mini course on my website for parents who are tired of their school complaining about their child's behavior and want to learn how to present the school with a motivation plan that is easy for the school to implement and that the parents can help support at home. It's called the Ultimate Motivation Plan to Improve Your Child's Behavior at School. It's an excellent program and very helpful in walking you through the development of an individualized plan for your child in school. One of the amazing features of this plan is that it offers up to 3 separate levels of motivational pull on behavior. In addition to the daily reinforcers that you would offer your child at home for the points earned at school, you could also include a long-term reinforcer to the plan that your child would be able to earn after weeks or months of good effort. But it also includes a more immediate reinforcement offered by the school depending on how the child did in each individual session of their day. The more reinforcement opportunities, the better. And this plan has been a godsend for so many families whose kids have not been doing well in the school setting. If you're interested in that mini course, you can go to the website just7steps.com/school. It is being added there soon. So depending on when you watch this, it might be there now. If not, feel free to check back until we have it up and available to you. In addition to the discussion on multi-level plans, I also wanted to talk with you today about the process of easing an early learner or younger child with less overall understanding into the process of working for tokens. In some cases, you'll be with a child who you want to move to a token plan due to the needs of the environment, but the child might not be ready with their receptive language understanding. That maybe they're not ready to handle a larger token plan like the one we learned to develop in the last episode. Now, for these children, it might make sense to start with a set of small token boards. A token board is a small strip of paper or cardboard that has a few boxes drawn on it. The boxes might have Velcro in them or be written permanently on a dry erase board or laminated paper. The idea is that rather than give the child a reinforcer after they complete a few tasks, you will show them that you will give them reinforcement after all of the boxes on their board are filled in. The key note of interest here for folks who've done this before is that I always like to start with 3 separate boards of different amounts. The first might have 3 boxes, the second 5 boxes, and the third 7. If I'm concerned that a child is even more of an early learner, I might start with 3 boards, one having 3 boxes, one having 4, and one having 5. The point is to have these 3 different amounts on the boards for the child from the beginning. Then when I showed the child the board for the first time, I might show them that the lowest level of board, let's say the one that has 3 boxes on it. I tell them that they can have their reinforcer when the board is complete, and I try to find a way to immediately or very quickly give them their first token. I show them that tokens are awarded by either drawing an X, if it's a dry erase board or laminated paper, or I stick a colored paper token onto the box by Velcro. The goal is to get the child the 3 tokens necessary as quickly as possible for any positive behavior, and show them that once it is filled in, they can then have their reinforcer. The important thing I find, though, is that the second time I do this, I will use one of the other token boards with a different total amount of boxes on it. This way, the child learns right from the beginning that the amount of tokens necessary to earn backup reinforcement may change, but that completing the board is in general still easy and worth doing and always leads to reinforcement. So if I have a 3, a 5, and a 7 box board, I would be mixing between them from the beginning, so the child never builds up an expectation that the board is only supposed to have a certain number of boxes. Then, with time and success, I can start to sneak in a board with a few more tokens, and even drop one of the boards with a few or less boxes as I choose to help build the program forward over time. So let's say I started with a 3, a 5, and a 7 box token boards. In a few weeks, I might have built up to using a 7, a 10, and a 12 box token boards. And once a child begins to have a bit more understanding, there's another type of token tracker that might be useful. One that I like to use is something called a tagulator. Tagulators were developed as part of the Tag Teach program. Usually they use colored beads to demonstrate the amount of tokens the child can earn. This tagulator has 20 beads. And each time the child earns a token, you can slide one of the beads over from here to here. And with every new token earned, another bead slides over until you are finished and the child has earned the number of beads that we would expect them to. Now, just like with the beginner boards, you can have tagulators with different numbers of beads on them. Or if the child's capable of understanding it, you can have them work for different levels of different colors. Like if the first 5 are purple, and then maybe next time they're going to have to work through the orange color in order to get their reinforcer. Or maybe they have to work through the blue one so they can earn 5, 10, 15, or the whole set of beads. Now, tagulators are pretty cool little creations, and you can look up on YouTube how to make them. They're very useful in the school setting because an aide or a teacher can just hang them on their belt loop and can carry them around with them wherever the child goes. And they can demonstrate visually to the child how they're doing. Regardless of whether you're using a token board or the tagulator, the principle of token economies still apply. You need to avoid all or nothing consequences as much as possible. For both of these options, there's normally no time limit installed. It doesn't matter how long it takes for the child to earn the number of tokens expected or the number of beads, but as soon as they do, they can have their reinforcer. You don't want to say you have 1 hour to earn 7 tokens, and if at the end of the hour you only have 6, you don't get your reinforcer. That's that all or nothing we want to avoid. You also don't want to limit the reinforcer to just one item that is predetermined. It's always much better if there are options the child can choose from after they have earned their tokens or gotten all of their beads. And you certainly don't want to take tokens or beads away from a child who's already earned them. Again, in token plans, taking away tokens is a motivation killer and usually not a wise idea. So before I move on to the last important topic of the token plan episodes, I want to mention that this is episode 17 of the Just 7 Steps podcast. And if you've just found us, I urge you to go back and start watching or listening to us from the very beginning. I've shared episodes on so many cool topics so far. Episode 2 was about how to use the 7 steps principles to motivate a child to keep their room clean. Episode 3 was about earning respect in your parent-child relationships. Episode 6 covered behavioral consequences to use and to avoid. In episodes 9 and 11, I interviewed two great BCBAs, Megan Miller and Emily Wilson. And in episode 11, I interviewed a parent who has used the 7 steps to help improve the way she interacts with her child and her child interacts with the world. So if you just found us now, be sure to go back to the beginning and check out all of our podcast episodes. You can find the links for them on our website at the website page, www.just7steps.com/podcast. Or you can find the Just 7 Steps podcast on YouTube or anywhere podcasts are hosted. Now, the next topic I want to discuss is my creation called the on-off-in token plan. I mentioned this in the last episode as a token plan that incorporates mini consequences. Now, mini consequences are an important principle as part of the 7 steps to instructional motivation. Step 7 incorporates this concept of mini consequences as part of the troubleshooting plan for the 7 steps. Mini consequences are quick, immediate indications to the child that they're either on the right or the incorrect path to getting the things that they want. Mini consequences can be very helpful in earning a quicker understanding of the consequences that are now going to be connected to their behavior as part of your behavior or learning plan. Usually I'll recommend the on-off-in token plan when you have a child who in a school setting has proven challenging to the staff and basic token plans haven't tended to work well. These are the kids who tend to try to play games with their token plans and might wait for bad behavior until after they've earned a token. They're smart enough to know what they need to be successful and how to get it, but still seem to want to find ways to sneak less appropriate behavior into the mix, keeping everyone on their toes and unsatisfied with the outcomes. These are generally for kids who make the staff really want to take back tokens once they've been earned. But rather than stealing tokens back that have already been earned or awarded, we can use these mini consequences. Now, the first time that I used it was in Germany for a boy who had a tendency to work effectively in the classroom long enough to earn a token. But every time a token was earned, the child immediately used negative behavior that made the staff wanting to take it back. So instead, I taught them this token plan, and it worked incredibly well for him. Now, remember, no token plan is optimal for all kids, and this one has its limitations as to when and why you would use it as well. The on-off-in token system is only useful for intermediate to advanced learners who have strong listener skills and can understand the differing levels of token acquisition that the system uses. But if you are in a situation where you have a lot of expectations and you can break up your day into periods of time, and your child tends to choose bad behavior in between doing the expected work, and that causes you to want to take back tokens, then this might be a great option for you. At very least, it's nice to know about it and to have it in your back pocket as an alternative. Now, I do have a full chapter in my book called Motivation and Reinforcement. And that book covers token plans in detail. It has a great explanation of this plan. So if you're interested in reading more about how to implement the 7 steps as part of a program for children who may have disabilities like autism or ODD, that book offers a ton of help and insights and is available at lulu.com/spotlight/Schramm. And that's Schramm with a capital S. Okay, so on to the on-off-in token plan. What is it? How does it work? And why do you want to know about it? Well, this system requires that you break down the learning hours of the day into manageable chunks. And these chunks of times may correspond with classroom periods or other natural time periods between transitions in the school day. The time periods need to be defined and have a beginning and an ending, and will determine the ultimate amount of tokens a child can use to buy items off of his reinforcer menu when it becomes available to him later. It also calls for the designation of a location that the tokens will be kept. This location could be any form of purse or bag or box or envelope. For the ease and explanation, I'll refer to this designated location as a token envelope. The 3 levels of token acquisition in the system are on, off, and in. On refers to tokens that have been awarded to the child by placing them on the envelope. Tokens that have been awarded to the on position will not officially belong to the child unless they're still on the envelope when that predetermined time period ends. Off refers to tokens that have been removed from the on position, taken off of the envelope, and are instead placed next to but off of the envelope. These are tokens that are still earnable by the child, but are not going to belong to the child unless they end up back on the envelope when the predetermined time period ends. In refers to tokens that have been moved from the on position of the envelope to the in position of the envelope. And the only time that this can happen is at the end of a predetermined time period. And only those tokens that have remained on the envelope at the end of that period can be moved in. Now, any tokens that make their way into the envelope now officially belong to the child and cannot be taken away for any reason. The system is designed to motivate the child toward having as many tokens as possible on the on position at the end of a predetermined time period. The procedure involves small, immediate, positive and negative consequences from on to off to on to off to in the pocket to back on to in that would allow the child to see reinforcement beneficial towards keeping their behavior strong throughout the entire period. We want to reinforce appropriate behavior and reduce inappropriate behavior through that predetermined time period through these many consequences. And when a child demonstrates a reinforcer behavior, a token is placed to the on position, resting atop the envelope. As the child continues to perform reinforceable behavior, more tokens are then added on the envelope, as would occur in almost any token system. However, it needs to be made clear to the child through explanation at the introduction of the system that these tokens now resting on the envelope will only belong to them if they remain on the envelope at the end of the time period. And whenever the child demonstrates an inappropriate behavior, a token that is on the envelope can then be moved to the off position, resting just next to the envelope. Through explanation at the introduction of the program, it should be made clear to the child that any tokens that are remaining off the envelope will not be placed in the envelope when the time period ends. So tokens go on the envelope, they come off the envelope, they go back on the envelope. And the child can quickly earn them right back to the on position from the off position with additional reinforceable behavior choices. The more reinforceable behavior the child demonstrates, the more tokens they can acquire on the envelope. The more inappropriate behavior that they may demonstrate, the more those tokens will be taken off of the envelope. But they will be left visible and available to the child. If the child does continue to display inappropriate behavior and there's no tokens remaining on the on position, it would then become time to start removing the tokens from the off position back into the teacher's pocket and out of sight as further mini consequences. As always, however, any change in behavior towards more acceptable choices can lead to the returning of those tokens back to the on position of the envelope. At the end of the predetermined time, any tokens that are on the on position get banked into the envelope, and any positions in the off position get lost and put back into the teacher's pocket out of sight. When it's time to purchase reinforcement from the larger reinforcer menu, it is only those tokens that have made their way into the envelope that will be available for the child to use. And when used correctly, this system allows for a very fluid and reactive movement of tokens from the on position to the off position and back on again, ultimately to be officially earned at the end of each time period. The loss of tokens from on to off and then also back off the table altogether should become an immediate mini consequence that serves to push the child's behavior quickly back to a more acceptable range. This type of program, because it includes the immediate mini consequences, takes any value out of negating good behavior with immediate bad behavior after the token has been awarded. and will limit the child's desire to continue to use negative behavior during the process. Now, I don't recommend trying to do a token plan like this based on this quick introduction. But if you want to have more information on this token plan or others, you can go to my Token Economies course at the website www.robertschrammconsulting.com. It's there and available for anyone who wants to learn about token economies. But in the meantime, remember, there are many different reasons why the development of a token economy might become important for a child's learning or behavior program, as there are many reasons why a child might not be ready for or even need one. Once your team decides that it is a priority, there are important considerations that you should make to help you choose the best system for your child and the environment. Now, I hope the information of these 3 episodes offers you some clarity on these issues and helps you to find the token economy that will allow you to maintain your child's motivation for learning while allowing you to use delayed reinforcement in your teaching setting. If you liked this video blog, I would love it if you would leave me a comment, give me a thumbs up, share the video with others who might benefit, and subscribe to the channel for more education and parenting videos just like this one. I'll see you right here next week with an interview with occupational therapist John Prisbill, who will talk about how adding an understanding of the 7 steps to instructional motivation to his occupational therapy sessions improved his teaching and fit in well with his personal views about education. It's a great conversation and one that you won't want to miss. See you next week.